I feel like the most disciplined people are the ones that do less and have less priorities, fewer priorities.
Yeah.
And then so I went through this process myself. It was a few years ago. I'm just like, okay, what's important to me? What's important to me, number one, is raising my children. That's what I want to spend most of my time and attention doing, as much as possible, as much as reasonable.
Hey, y'all. Welcome back to Love, Life, and Legacy, the podcast dedicated to helping you navigate these hypersexualized times of ours, of yours and mine alike. Today, Benji and I are unpacking discipline. And now this is, you could just go online and watch some videos about discipline. But if you do, type it in, you'll see that they all kind of resemble each other. They're all telling the same story, that discipline is a matter of sacrifice. It's a matter of just going for it, working hard, this kind of stuff. That's the tone of the discipline that they're describing. Actually, discipline is much more nuanced and very, very important, but highly misunderstood. There's many different expressions of discipline, and we want to talk about that because if you do want to experience a high noon life, sexual integrity, if you want to have a great blessing, if you just want to have it all, then it's going to require discipline. It's going to be a main ingredient. Why don't you just come? Why don't you just come over here into this little part of the internet and listen to Benji and I unpack discipline. Hello, everybody.
Hi, everyone.
Everybody just stop horsing around, okay? Just let's get serious for a second. Benji, can you just get serious? You're smiling. I see your teeth. I get it. You got teeth. Stop flaunting them. This is serious. This is a serious show about serious stuff, okay?
Okay. Sorry. I'm so sorry.
No, I don't want your pity. I don't want your humility.
I'm so sorry.
Oh my gosh.
I can't believe it. I'm so sorry. You're incredible, Andrew.
Man, Japanese people definitely know how to flatter American people. And when they flatter each other, they deflect it, right? That's part of the culture. Don't hold your head too high. But Americans get real inflated when they hang around that too long. They're like, wait a second, I am great.
Yes.
I am smart.
You're so American. So amazing. Wow, so good. Oh my God.
Kind of our Achilles heel. In America, everybody wants to be king because nobody knows what it's like to be king. It's not that great. A lot of pressure. Okay, so today, everybody, Benji and I are going to be crazy disciplined in our conversation, just like unbelievably disciplined, because this show is about discipline. Benji's being super disciplined. He's not saying anything that's superfluous. But I want to give a caveat. I want to give a disclaimer before we do this. A lot of times you'll see online people doing podcasts, people doing inspirational videos, and it's all about the importance of discipline. And that's their message. Is discipline is the most important thing in the world. Hard stop. And that's what you're left with. And then you feel, oh, I guess I suck because I don't run super marathons, Dave Goggins, or I don't ignore my family for years on end to build a multi-million-dollar business, Gary Vee. These kind of people, right? But you realize that that's a very monochromatic perspective. So discipline is very important, but it's an important trait as a part of a collective of traits that will help you live a heavenly high noon life. Okay. Discipline is one slice of a pizza pie, but there's also things like compassion, self-awareness, all these other things that also factor in. We're just going to focus on discipline today, but please know this. I have to give you this disclaimer so that we don't just leave you feeling like you have to be disciplined, otherwise your life will die all day, every day. If you have a slice of cake, you suck. That's a terrible life.
Yeah, people that only have discipline, and that becomes the point, are just living in a system in which they're not doing anything. They're just running their wheels. And the whole point, that becomes an identity. It's like, I am a disciplined person. And there's no end goal. It's not a tool anymore. It is the identity that people grab onto. Yeah.
Yeah. Things like, unless you have some sort of disease or some sort of condition, cutting back on carbs will never hurt you because we don't actually need carbs. Introducing them once in a while is actually healthy because if you never have them, at one time that you might, your body goes into shock, right? It doesn't know how to handle them and process them, right? So to have a dessert every once in a while, not the worst thing in the world. Our bodies should be able to handle them. A healthy body should. And if you fear things like that, then that fear itself could be causing you problems. That anxiety towards certain types of food. It's allowing yourself to be disciplined enough to enjoy life but going on vacation, taking a break from work, that's not only kind of a nice thing to have if you can do it. Hugely important to be a nuanced person. Otherwise, if you're just working and that's the only speed that you have, you'll eventually run into a giant brick wall where you're like, my life has no meaning. I just work all the time, right? Because you're supposed to breathe in
Mhm.
and breathe out. Life is a series of up and downs, left and right. It's three-dimensional.
Yeah.
And our character is supposed to be thus.
Speaking of Japanese culture,
Yes.
I don't want to pick on Japan, but our listeners are very familiar with, we're very familiar with the Japanese culture, right? I mean, a lot of cultures are like this, just work to death. Discipline becomes the default way of living. I'm Japanese, my wife's Japanese, you're Japanese in spirit. That's true. That's 100% true.
I disagree, but
I agree.
continue.
Guys, if you want to test this, next time you're around Andrew, give him a compliment and just watch him turn into a Japanese man. You're
I could go on for days about Canadian culture, but
you are you are like notoriously bad at receiving compliments, and that's okay. That's fine. That's how you are. But also, your mom, your spiritual mom, is Japanese, right? So that's what I
sure.
kind of refer to as like you're spiritually a Japanese person. But it's an example of just working for the sake of working, and gosh, not taking breaks ever, and discipline becomes the identity. It's like, if I'm not disciplined, I'm failing. If I'm not working,
Yeah.
I'm failing. If I'm not productive, I'm failing. I'm not contributing to the society, to my family, to my culture. And none of us are exempt from feeling that way. I feel that way almost every day, to be real. Just feeling like this kind of push and pull, between like I
Sure.
should rest versus if I'm resting, I should be working. And if I'm working, I should be resting. And this is a constant feeling of kind of torment in me,
Sure.
and it takes discipline, I think, also to just not just for discipline's sake, but just to look at that and be like, okay, well, what do I want to be intentional? Word of the day. How do I be intentional about rest? How do I be intentional about work, about family, faith, so that it's balanced and there's not like this constant feeling of like I should be doing something else. And it's a horrible feeling to feel like I should be doing something else when we're supposed to be focused and present with what we're doing right now, you know? And I think that's what the result is if we're not intentional about how we're using our energy and our time. Yeah.
Yeah, I like it. I like it. And so the discipline, it's like, are you disciplined enough to do hard work? Conversely, are you disciplined enough to have fun and to
Mm,
enjoy life and to sit and smell the roses every once in a while and just force yourself to be off your phone and to
mhm,
just be sitting in a park? I did that yesterday after lunch with my kids. We went to the playground. We sat under a tree and we just stared up at the sky and we talked about stuff. And it was unbelievably cathartic. And I loved it, every second of it. And normally I just can't because I got right after lunch, I got to get back to work and blah, blah, blah.
mhm,
I just space things out a little bit more so that I can go a little bit slower. So that took discipline.
mhm.
It's discipline to go fast. It's discipline to go slow. It's discipline to stop. It's discipline to start. Like a great example, it's really hard for me to stop working at the end of the week
Mhm.
because I'm just ramping up and I have so much focus and I'm like doing really great stuff. And then it's really hard to get back into that state at the start of the week
Yeah.
because the motors are all kind of, so it's equally
Yeah. Yeah.
difficult to start and to stop work.
Mhm.
But that's a discipline. They're but separate ends of the same spectrum,
Yeah, I feel
right?
that too. Yeah, there's like a flame at the end of the week that is building up, and if you just extinguish it on like Friday, it's hard to get it stoke. It's hard to stoke it again on Monday.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel
In a
that.
different state. And so, yeah, we want to unpack all of this because if you want to be a disciplined person, I think it's very different than how we're sold what disciplined is. And
Mhm.
there's a reason for that. Like online, I can really see that niche of video, like motivational videos. All these motivational celebrities serve a purpose because people are just very lazy and lost for the most part. We have an entire generation that doesn't know how to get started. They want all these things and they don't know how to get started. So a little bit of motivation isn't the worst thing in the world, but it's not honest and it's not sincere and it doesn't tell the whole story. And so what we want to do is to help you to become a disciplined person that constructs your life according to the vision of who you want to be. Because if you just watch those motivational videos, you're not optimizing your days to be the person that you want to be. You're optimizing your days out of guilt of not being what these people are. Like, I feel like I should be. Like, I saw a video yesterday, Matthew McConaughey. It was like with music and all that. And he was like, when I was a kid, my mama said, if the sun's out, you're out of the house. This kind of thing. So it's like, don't be inside when the sun's up. It's like,
Mhm.
okay, so you don't know how to like take a nap during the day? Gotcha. That's fine. And that's cool because I would say most kids spend way too much time indoors. Sure. but also indoors isn't bad, for God's sakes. So it's just taking things in balance, like taking a larger perspective is what we're
Yeah.
promoting here. Yeah.
Yeah, I had a moment where I was listening to a podcast before going to the gym, and
Uh-huh.
then I noticed that I was, like, requiring this podcast to feel motivated to go to the gym, you know? And I think
Yeah.
that at scale is what a lot of people experience, and it's a very, very subtle trap to fall into it because it feels productive, and especially a podcast, because that's like, while I'm listening to it, it's not I'm not scrolling, it's like it seems intentional, and it can be, like you said, at times, but as a requirement to be motivated, that's not how discipline it's like an extrinsic motivator. It's an extrinsic
Yep.
form of discipline that's just becoming an that's or like a requirement in order to feel motivated, to feel disciplined to go to the gym.
Mhm.
And then I like cut that out and I was like, this is ridiculous. That's not how I want to live my life. Is like, I want to feel motivated and disciplined intrinsically, like from me, from something that I want to create. And I want to be proud of and happy with my progress and not in comparison to someone else.
Correct. Yeah, and that's what, I covered in last week's video about motivation is that's not even your motivation. You don't feel motivated. You feel somebody else's motivation. You're borrowing it.
Mhm.
So it doesn't have a long life cycle within you. You have to keep on borrowing and borrowing from other people until you're in debt because now you're leading somebody else's life. You're like, why did I want abs again? Yeah, the video told me I needed them. So let's talk about like a day in the life of like a disciplined person, right? Like how do you structure your day? And one I
Yes.
was writing a message yesterday to one of our staff because he was noticing that his schedule seemed a little bit out of control and he was pushing things back more and more. So he was starting his day later and then he was finishing his day later and he felt like an object to his schedule. His schedule, he always felt like he was trying to catch up to his life, and that's always going to be stressful. If you're not like on top of life to a certain degree, then there's a lot of anxiety because now you feel like a slave to your days. It's like I
Mhm.
have no control. I just got you start saying things like, "Oh, I got this meeting. I got to go to this place." And it's like, "Well, why do you gotta? Unless you're in a North Korea or somewhere like that, you should be able to have a large amount of autonomy in your life. Even if you're in school, why are you in school? You should have a reason to be there, right? So
Yeah.
with him, I was just like, I've already said this before, and I just was trying to find a nice way to say that I've already said this before, but there's no end to the benefits of planning your days ahead of time. I do it the night before. And that means meetings, commitments that I already have. It also means scheduling work in that I need to do that day. But it also means scheduling in fun. Like I realized night times or evenings were giving me so much anxiety about a year or two ago. I can't remember when, but I just started to
Mhm.
feel really weird in the evening because I felt like everybody was around each other physically, but we weren't hanging out. We weren't doing anything. We were just kind of like waiting to go to sleep. After dinner, it's just like this weird times. I was like, oh, we need to schedule that time. And that's not like, okay, 7:05, we're gonna talk about bananas, and for 15 minutes or something. It's like, oh, okay, Tuesday night now in our house, documentary night. It's
Mhm.
a great thing to look forward to. We have board games and baking on Thursday nights that we've been
Mhm.
doing. Things to kind of look forward to that gives us time and space, but gives us like a purpose for that time. This is sacred time, and and we adjust it, and but it's curated for what would I like my evenings to be. I would like to hang out with my family and like do stuff with them, and we don't naturally just get into fun. We kind of I mean, the boys do. They just have fun, but I
Mhm.
want to hang out sometimes with them. But
Mhm.
then sometimes be like, okay, I want to just hang out with my wife. We'll go for walks. Let's schedule it in, right? So to have a disciplined day is to be disciplined enough to do all the things that you feel like is important in one day.
Mhm.
And it's totally possible if you make the time. A lot of people say I don't have time. It's because they don't know how to make time. You create time by prioritizing the things, right? I don't
Yep.
have time to read books anymore. I bet you spend at least an hour on your phone. I heard the average is 6 hours on the phone per day because that includes podcasts, that includes like a lot of stuff, but much of that is scrolling. But you remove some of that and then you schedule in reading a book, right? And then all of a sudden you just made time. But the game is having the discipline to recognize how to create a day. and that makes you a god of your day, a co-creator at least. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so it's super simple. For me, it's just by hour. It's like I write it out the night before always, if not the
Mhm.
day before. Some weeks when I have like a lot of meetings, I'll do the entire week and I'll just like, just so that I can make sure that I fit everything in. But typically, like last night, I'm looking at my book and here's a couple pro tips. I have a book that I really like. There are these, it's always a similar size. And I have a pen that I really love. I love this pen so much. Some Mongolian pen that I got, but it's made out of metal
Yes.
and it feels really nice. And I got replacement ink so I can use this pen for years. Like I got like 10, you
Nice.
know? And but it just writes so nicely. And so the night before, I'll look at my day. So I go first to Google Calendar, what meetings do I have? Bam, put that in there. Hour by hour. Then where do I fit in lunch? Where do I fit in exercise? Where do I fit in time with family? And then I create a day. And
Mhm.
then that's today me setting up tomorrow me to win. I'm thinking about tomorrow me and I'm like, bro, I got you. I got you. I'm gonna give you a nice day. And then when I wake up, I'm like, oh, what do we have today? Yesterday, me. Oh, this looks nice. And I just follow the plan. I just follow the plan. But if I do it right, I've already anticipated a lot of things and obviously there's wiggle room. Like I don't
Mhm.
schedule every second. Okay, I'm gonna poop at this time and all that. Like you have to be a little bit limber here. But the idea is if you think about your life, you shouldn't have that many things that you're trying to accomplish in any given day. There should be more than enough time to fit everything in. And this is one way of doing that. And it's a form of discipline to care enough to anticipate tomorrow, today, and to kind of write it out in some way. I don't put it on my phone or anything because that stresses me out. It's got to be in a book like this, it's got to have lined paper. This one's amazing, by the way. My wife gave it to me and it's kind of embarrassing. It's gonna be backwards, but it says, "Follow your heart,"
There you go.
right? But I don't know if you can see, it's made out
Yeah.
of this really nice material. It's like canvas. I just like having it, and I write in it. And the reason why it matters to have stuff that feels nice and like a pen that flows nicely is that your relationship becomes like, this is my
Hmm.
future making machine. I make the future with this. So I want it to be beautiful and I want it to have nice paper that writes well and a beautiful pen that writes well. And then I have this relationship where like it's not a burden to do this work. It's an honor that I can create my own future. And I've been doing this since I was 19. This changed my life. This changed my life. I've been doing it consistently for the past many, many years, many eons since I was 19.
Question. Is that also from Mongolia, your notebook?
I don't know where it's from. Wherever we are, I buy one before. I can see how I have a few pages left. And like out in America, maybe I'll get it in Amazon or something. And it'll be like the size of a moleskin. This one, I have no idea where my wife
Where
got
to
this
get it?
from.
No idea where to get it.
Super girly. But you'll find your own. If the pages of a book are too big for me, I get stressed out because there's all this empty space. I don't want an empty space. But if it's too small,
Quick pause. If you're serious about your future blessing, but not really preparing for it, then this is your moment. Don't do it alone, guys. Go to highnoon.org.
I also get stressed out because I try to fit too much. So it's got to be of a certain size. All this matters in terms of your relationship with just doing it consistently. And so, like, I don't have to remind myself to do this at this point. This is how I function in life. If I don't do this, I start to unravel,
Yeah.
you know?
So basically, nobody can get your pen or your notebook, but they can get their own.
That's true. You'll
Just
find your
wanna.
own. I can't tell
Yeah.
you which pen. Like I've been through some pens, boy, but I've landed on this one and I love it. I never want to lose it.
But what do you do, Andrew, when you don't feel like doing the thing that was laid out the night before?
I can adjust. Sometimes things come up. Sometimes there's an emergency or whatever. It's not, again, it's having the discipline to anticipate the future and do your very best to set yourself up to win at life. But then it's also having the discipline to not feel like if you don't do that, you're going to die. That's a different kind of discipline. It's the discipline of like not having to work out when you're on vacation necessarily, right?
Mhm.
Some people's identity is working out, so they can't even fathom taking a break for a few days. That's, I don't think, overly healthy. Like you planning your vacation around, like, okay, what's the gym situation, bro?
Yeah,
How
yeah.
about you just chill and go for some walks?
Oh yeah, muscles will do fine. Muscle will do fine for a week
Yeah.
without any stimulation. Yeah. Got it. Yeah, I was just asking because sometimes life happens, but also like, energy levels deplete. For me, at
Sure.
least, sometimes it's like go to Sky Zone in the evening, like at the beginning of the week or like the night before. I'm like, yes, I'm totally going to the Sky Zone in the evening with my kids. And then by the time the evening comes, it's like, that is such a feat going to the Sky Zone and
Yeah.
spending 2 hours jumping around. So I was just wondering, like, I don't know, how do you handle it if you're just like, I don't want to do this, you know?
But at the same time, like if it's important, that's the other thing too, is honoring your yesterday's self. Like, why did you make that? Maybe in the beginning you're being too generous and you're trying to do too much in a day. But when you get good at it, a lot of times I've made the commitment when I wrote it down. So even though I might not want to do it, I was just traveling this weekend, right? And
Mm.
I did an event that I really didn't want to do, but I had already committed to it. And so I did it with a good attitude and it was okay. It's just, I don't personally like giving talks in small rooms with fluorescent lights. It just gives me PTSD from high school. It's like
Mm.
I love stages and microphones and
Mm.
big audiences, but I really have a hard time with small rooms and people who are like right in front of your face. It just smacks too much of school. So, but I did it because I had promised the guy. And so even though I got up that day, I was like, I don't want to do this. I just got into the right state. No, I made this commitment. That's another form of discipline, right? So if you said I'm going to do Sky Zone and then you tell your kids and your kids get hyped up, then let's just say, I don't know if maybe they didn't want to go either. And maybe it was just a presumption, right? There's that. But if it's something that yesterday you was hyped up about and your kids are still hyped up about, then I would just do it anyway because of the commitment. But then
Yeah.
also learning from that and be like, maybe I should revise how I do this next time.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah, I'll try. I'll try a physical. I am going to do everything digital, but I'll try a physical thing. I think that's nice because it kind of makes it a little more intentional, to like write it out. Because otherwise, it's just in the calendar. Like, for example, Sky Zone is just in the calendar every week. And
Okay.
if I don't the night before intentionally like look at it and be like, okay, are we doing this? Then it's just something that sometimes will just come and go. And so it doesn't become
For
a
sure.
consistent thing. Well, I want it to be a consistent thing, or swimming swimming with the kids is something that's in the calendar, but it's not so intentional. Like, okay, we're doing this. And then sometimes I don't tell the kids just because I don't want them to, it's like having a back door to uncommit.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, I'm not going to
That's
tell
called
them because,
accountability, bruh.
yeah. So I tell them we have to do it, like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess my week is set up, and because I think what I've learned is that what people lack is not discipline so much, but they lack the ability to say no. And so I feel like the most disciplined people are the ones that do less and have less priorities, fewer priorities.
Yeah.
And then so I went through this process myself. It was a few years ago. I'm just like, okay, what's important to me? What's important to me, number one, is raising my children. That's what I want to spend most of my time and attention doing as much as possible, as much as reasonable. And then secondly, I want to, is a mission, is like teaching about high noon, teaching about no shadows, teaching about Channelguk, teaching about, blessed family. Like, it's just like teaching, this desire I have to teach. And those two things. And then I was like, there's nothing else that's really important to me, actually. There's a lot of secondary things, like health is important. But how I categorize health is just a way for me, it's a tool to help me do those things, to be a good parent, to be a good teacher, to have energy, right? And so everything fits into those categories. And then I started going through a process of reducing through just taking out anything that was not that. And there was a lot of obligations I had. And I noticed this a lot in people, especially people that are nice. We're nice people. And so there are things like, this weekly, once a month, like dinner with that person, or like I was even questioning like going to church. And I'm not saying people shouldn't go to church but I was questioning it because for a time it was because my parents were going to church. And so I wanted to see them, but I also didn't want them to be disappointed. And like my mom texted me like, why aren't you at church? Like that day. And then I was like, oh, it's kind of becoming an obligatory act every week. But then I was like, actually, completely changed it. I was like, I can either not go to church because it's not aligned with my priorities, or I can just change how I see church. And so now it's like, whether my parents go or not, they could be on vacation, like traveling for weeks. Sometimes they do. And we'll still go to church with my family. And the reason is because it's for my kids and it helps me with the mission. I feel connected to people. I feel connected to our members. I get to hear from them. I get to see what's going on in our movement. And it really helps me with the mission itself because I'm not just kind of locked in, but also helps with just the connection part and having our kids feel connected with other families, and my wife feels connected to other adults, And so it kind of just became a more intentional act of like, I genuinely like going to our little church that is considered a pretty small church in our faith. And, but I really enjoy it because I don't like the, over the top giant production mega churches. It just feels overproduced to me. Just my personal preference. I like things feeling really raw and local, and the band is just like acoustic, and the sermon is short, and everyone knows each other, and we have lunch together. Like I really like that kind of feeling. Anyway, so apart from church, it's like just through reductionism, taking out anything and questioning everything through that filter is like, is this serving my priorities, my two priorities? Scrolling does not serve my priorities. A lot of unhealthy behaviors and habits that I used to indulge in or others don't indulge in doesn't feed my priorities. So I just don't think about them. They're just not part of my list of things to consider. And so that's kind of how, like, big picture I structure my life, but week by week I'll do the same thing. So every week I have to start the week and start the day with the same thing because it's easy to say. I think a lot of people who are parents especially know this. Like it's easy to say my number one priority is my kids, but it's harder to schedule your life like that and to have your headspace and your attention reflect that, because every parent will say that my kids are my number one priority. But if you look at their calendar, it's like just filled with busyness. And if you look inside their head, they're not thinking. Their attention's not on the kids. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
the kids are just on their phone or whatever. And the same would go with like, students, because we talk all the time with people who are single or in school, and what they're saying is one thing, which is they want to be like priorities focused on preparing for the blessing and their faith and their relationship with God. And then if you look at their time and attention, it's like school, just scrolling, just a lot of self-limiting thoughts, imposing thoughts, just a whole bunch of stuff that does not actually serve what they say their priorities are. And so I think that's a massive form of discipline, is just structuring everything we do, even our thoughts, you know what I'm saying? Even what's going on here, inside here, to really reflect what our true priorities are. And that is something that a lot of people have not cracked. But I think when you see it and we just kind of like notice, am I really, really, really am I backing up what I feel like is most important in my life, week by week, day by day, month by month? And to me, that's what discipline is. And that's the process that I've been going through. And so every day I have to wake up. I usually go outside. My morning starts the morning of, not the night before, I must say. I'm working on that. But I'll like go outside onto the porch and I'll just sit with coffee, and then I'll just reflect. Usually I'll have a dream that I'll try to digest and analyze from the night before. And that kind of gets me into more an internal state and kind of in a grateful state, kind of more thinking about spiritual things. And then, it kind of keeps me grounded and focused on what's important. And so if I feel like as soon as I wake up, I start checking email, I know that something's off. If I like check WhatsApp or something like that, I feel like I know something's off and I need to kind of recalibrate from there and refocus my priorities back to my kids and the mission, and that's kind of like just that's how I label it in my head. It's like kids and mission. And then anything else is just, like temporary, or I can more or less deprioritize or, like that. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. I mean, you mentioned boundaries, learning how to say no. This is definitely a discipline.
Mm-hmm.
We have a tendency, so nice people have a tendency to overpromise and underdeliver because they say yes to too many things and they can't possibly accomplish everything that they've committed to.
Right.
And that's actually, it seems nice in the moment because you don't want to disappoint the person by saying no. But ultimately, it's not a kind thing to do, is to promise something and not deliver it to yourself and to whomever you're making this commitment with that you're not going to fulfill. That's why, so our family, like I do this on my own every night. My wife has no interest in doing this kind of stuff.
Mhm.
I tried to get her and she was doing it for a little bit, but it's not how she functions.
Oh, yeah.
But as a family, we write out schedules every week, and we have like a 7 a.m. to 7 or 8 p.m. kind of schedule, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And we put in their homeschooling stuff and their lessons and all that. And I noticed that if we don't do that, it's kind of annoying because I do it for all 3 boys every week. And it's not that hard, but it just like makes me really frustrated. But if I don't do it, things fall between the cracks. And somehow, I don't know why, but it's never as good. And so it's like the condition of why it's so frustrating to me is just like I have to process and think about a week out. And somehow it just irritates me on Sunday because Sunday is just like a chill day. And I do it on Sunday evenings. But it's to be disciplined enough is to start answering the question, what do I want? And to start living that kind of life. Because like you said about, oh, my children are my number one priority, but then they don't hang out with their kids and they don't know their kids. That's a lot of people in our world, Benji, say that. We've heard this idea of like, I don't think this works. I've tried everything. And you're like, okay, do you report to a mentor every day? No. Do you go to your group every single week without fail? Well, I miss some. Do you read any books or do any extracurricular stuff? No. So what is your version of doing everything? Because to me, it sounds like you're doing very little. But there's a feeling of everything, but then there's the reality. And that's why a process to substantiate your dreams is to write down all the stuff that you want to do day in and day out. That's like the how to chip away at it. And then also you have to take time of figuring out if you did that every single day, you're disciplined enough to write out your schedule. You're disciplined enough to dream what's the best day I can have and try to create that. If you did that for 3 months, what would the result be? Why would it be worth doing that? What are you trying to strive for? And that's a fun game because if it's connected to a larger goal, then the discipline again is in service of a higher purpose. A lot of people glorify discipline as its own end, but it's not an end, it's a means to an ultimate end, which is liberation. Just like I've heard that you like love without a container wreaks havoc. We had somebody that would go on tour with us and give this amazing testimony about a relationship she was in, and it was just like a casual relationship, just dating, and it just hurt so much. And she's like, it's because we had all this love, but we had no commitment. Commitment is the container, right? That's what with marriage, it's sold as like difficult and like it's enslaving because you have all these limitations. No, it's liberating. It's enslaving to if you do whatever you want whenever you want, then you become a slave to your lower heart stop. Like, drink whatever you want, inject whatever you want into your veins and see how free you really are. Like these guys, like Brian Johnson is like a biohacker who he cannot eat a cookie. Otherwise he'll die. His whole self-image crumbles and he'll just spontaneously combust or something. I don't know what will happen, but he won't
Get
do
hit
it.
by a
Yeah, something bad will happen. It's horrific, right? But commitment unlocks greatness. So if you have a commitment, that's your North Star goal. That's some semblance of like a vision. And then the discipline is taking steps every day towards that ultimate goal. And it's a really fun game. It sounds like homework, but it's actually, honestly, I have to do it on weekends too. I noticed, okay, Saturday mornings were becoming, my kids would get cranky. I'd be cranky. We'd all be cranky. I was like, oh, I see. Saturday mornings, we go on a hike and then we figure everything out after that. And it's been a miracle. We know what we're doing on Saturday morning. We're going out somewhere and we're going on some sort of walk in the forest. And then the rest of the day, we have fun. We do all sorts of stuff, but that grounds us, right? So you'll figure it out, but not unless you're looking and not unless you're experimenting.
Yeah. I have this like motto in life that if I'm not enjoying something, then I'm not doing it right. And that applies to almost everything, but sometimes things are not enjoyable, right? And the reality is I think that something like planning the week or planning the day ahead in our examples is one of those things that something you might just have to do. And so like my brain is like, how can I make this enjoyable? That's like my first go-to thing. Like maybe I'll, go out to a cafe and then plan the week or something. Or maybe I'll do it, with my wife. Or maybe we'll, make some tea.
Do what with your wife?
Do it.
Okay.
Do the thing with my wife in the evening or something. Or maybe I'll, have like a nice ceremony in the evening, like Sunday evening. And that's all helpful, right? But I think if I rely too much on enjoyment, then it's very easy to just be like, I don't feel like doing it, and so I'm not going to do it. But this is one of those things that if you just do it, regardless of how you feel, it unlocks a lot in the coming weeks and months, and days ahead. And so I feel like, and so like you could apply that to fitness. Like I don't do anything that I don't do anything that I don't like doing in the gym. I don't, even though
Sure.
there are some things that are just objectively really good to do, which I know, but I just hate doing deadlifts. So I'm not going to do deadlifts. You know what I'm saying? For example, but the discipline sometimes comes from just going to the gym, like just physically going to it, even if I don't feel like it. And then through the act of just having that small little bump to get over, then it's like, okay, now I feel like doing it. You know what I'm saying? And so I feel like there's just some things like evening time wind down routines, for example, doing a meditation, doing a closing with the family. Sometimes it just is not enjoyable, but if you just get over like a little hump, then it is just like a downhill stream of goodness that comes from it. And yeah, I think that can be applied to everything. Work especially. Oh my gosh, doing work. Yeah.
He says in front of his boss,
Yes,
man, I hate this job. Man, I hate everything about I do.
Yeah, like if you open a giant list of tasks, it's like, oh, and they always say like do the big rocks first, which is on paper true, but sometimes you need a little rock just a little task
To
just
wet
to
your
be like,
whistle.
yeah, to wet your whistle, stoke the fire a little bit, and you're like, okay, I got this. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I guess I'm ultimately like I optimize for enjoyment, and like I just want to enjoy life, and yeah.
Got it. Yeah, I think we're kind of covering all the terrain we need to. It's just everybody, discipline and commitment will liberate you. But again, the story of discipline doesn't mean hard work and doing the hard thing all the time. Sometimes it really does. Discipline looks like, stopping and listening to yourself praying. Praying takes discipline. A lot of people say, I don't know how to pray or I don't know how to meditate. Meditation is largely just sitting there, which is one of the hardest things to do, is not do much of anything at all. Right? Sometimes it's just like, man, I haven't been sitting with my kids enough, my spouse. I haven't been talking to my parents or my friends. I haven't laughed a lot lately. I need to go out and laugh. If you just keep on saying that, man, I need to go and have fun. Like, when was the last time you went to a music concert, like a show? You'll keep on saying it and never do it unless you have the discipline to just do it. And that usually comes in the form of writing it down, making a commitment, writing it down, saying, I'm just going to go have fun, right? It's not a small thing to enjoy life. Just the same as going to the gym, just the same as not eating too much dessert. If you look on the other side of that mirror, it's, man, I've been really stuck in front of a computer. I need to go outside and just sit on a bench. Man, I need to just go for a walk and breathe in with no phone, no stimuli, and just enjoy life. Like that. This is all different shades of discipline, and the story of discipline is very poorly represented. So we want to help you guys and gals to really experience the joys of life by living soft and hard discipline. That's where it's at.
That's it.
So I think that's it. I think we've been disciplined in talking about discipline. So, and do you have anything else, Benji?
Nope, that is it, my friend.
Then we will stop right at 41 minutes. Thank you all for listening, and stay hard. Just kidding.
Stay disciplined.
Stay everything.
Stay soft.
See you later.
A strong marriage doesn't start at the blessing. It starts right now in how you live, how you grow, and who you surround yourself with. If you've been passive, unsure, or just hoping things will work out in your future blessing, this is your chance to change that. To prepare with purpose, to walk with others who are taking this seriously. If that's the kind of foundation you want in your future, guys, check us out. Join our community at highnoon.org. Totally free. We will see you there.